Hughes briefly appeared in the Johannesburg High Court today. The matter was postponed after the court concluded its questions with the first witness. The defence has requested more time to consult with its witness, Amberly Hughes. Hughes was convicted of the rape and murder of 4-year-old Nada Jane Chalita, the daughter of her former partner. The child was assaulted and killed in January 2023 after being left in the care of Hughes. Ntokozo Khumalo has more.
The court heard testimony regarding conditions at the Johannesburg Correctional Centre as part of its consideration of sentencing. The head of the female section at the centre, Daphne Makubela, briefed the court on overcrowding and rehabilitation efforts.
The centre is built to accommodate only 711, which means it is obviously overcrowded. So our overcrowding percentage is 200.14%. So we try as a center by all means to provide the basic needs of our inmates, both sentenced and unsentenced.
Makubele added that should Hughes receive a life sentence, she would be placed in the maximum security section of the facility. Ntokozo Khumalo, Eyewitness News, Johannesburg.
The son of struggle icon Fort Chalata has apologized and retracted statements that he made about politicians during his testimony at the TRC cases inquiry. The inquiry resumed this morning with testimony from Lukhanyo Chalata. His father, Fort, was part of men known as the Craddock Four, who included Matthew Koniwe, Sperum Konto and Scelo Mhlauli. The men were assassinated by apartheid special branch police in 1985 while travelling from Port Elizabeth to Craddock in the Eastern Cape. During his testimony, Chalata has reflected on the role that he believes some politicians have played in hindering the administration of justice.
It was, again, the decisions of politicians that ultimately led to my father being and us being denied justice for his life. We sit here today at this commission of inquiry having led some evidence or just evidence about the role politicians had played in preventing the implementations of recommendations of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission.
But today he has apologized for his choice of words.
Commissioners, I wish to retract the generalization of me calling politicians the scum of the earth. But I do find that the bulk of the politicians that I have had personal interactions with, they're morally bankrupt.
And in Austria, an avalanche in the west of the country has resulted in the deaths of 2 snowboarders. It's understood the 2 men were reported missing after they had not returned from their snowboarding trip, prompting a large-scale search operation. The pair were buried under the snow and were located only last night. A level 4 avalanche risk warning is currently in place in that area following heavy snowfall in the recent days. Gold is trading at $5,028.16 an ounce. The rand is at 15.97 to the dollar, 21.79 to the pound, 18.95 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $67.78 a barrel.
Four-way slow-moving traffic, Winnie Mandela Drive between Witkoppen Road and the N1, while in Selby leaving the Joburg CBD. We still have bumper-to-bumper traffic, M2 westbound between the Crown Interchange and Main Reef Road.
It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 24 and 26 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour: Parliament will in the coming weeks be presented with a whistleblower protection bill that seeks to address critical gaps in safeguarding those who expose corruption in the country.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
Your brain's a well-oiled machine. Now put it to work in the brain of 702. Enter on primeMediaPlus.com. T's and C's apply.
You're with Relebogile Mabotja.
Live, streaming countrywide
On the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856
92.7
and 106 FM.
7 minutes after 1 o'clock. Welcome to 7:02 Afternoons with me, Relebogile Mabotja, on this Monday, the 16th of February. I hope you all had a fantastic weekend, and I hope Valentine's, you got the love that you deserve, even if it was from yourself or your girlfriends or your mom or your family or your child, whatever it is. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. So I've got a simple question to ask of all of you today. If generational wealth is something your parents have, let's say your children's children, and their children's children never have to work a day in their lives, so it's that powerful, would you still wake up and work? Would you still go and grind? And is the point of generational wealth to have the freedom not to have to work? Because people don't have such nice things to say about what people refer to as Nepo babies, but we'll chat on that. I want to hear from you. What is then the point of generational wealth? Movies and what to stream. Adelaide Moyeng joins us. Send through all of your movies, series, documentary, old or new recommendations for us to watch. Our travel feature, we're going to be joined by Gabby Brondani, our travel correspondent, as we chat around the reasons to plan a last-minute trip to the Seychelles. Parenting and Parents feature in the second hour of the show. This might be a tough one for you parents, but I want to hear from all of you. How do you navigate guiding your child through their first heartbreak and break up? And you can share their age and what that experience has been like. We're joined by Yogini Pakari, who is a qualified counseling psychologist. And then we wrap up with Dr. Chris Smith in the Naked Scientist feature. Get your questions in early so that you can be in the queue. And we've got money to give away, courtesy of Mahindra. Stay tuned on how you'll be able to enter. Get in touch with us. 011 883 0702. SMS us 31702. Tweets at Relebogile M, at Radio 702, using the hashtag 702 Afternoons, and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
702 Afternoons
With Relebogile Mabotja.
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Coming up, the Mahindra Fusion Fest quiz. I told you about it last week. To enter, WhatsApp the keyword Mahindra to 072 702 1702 with your name and ID number, and we could be calling you back to play for up to 10,000 Rand cash and 2 tickets to the fest on 702. T's and C's apply.
You're listening to 702 Afternoons.
With Relebogile Mabotja.
Winner for the best talk show
At the Telkom Radio Awards.
Okay, I want to find out from all of you that decide to hope and pray for generational wealth. Like, what do you imagine generational wealth to be or to be about? The daughter of who we know as boxing legend and icon Floyd Mayweather Jr., who is one of the richest athletes in the world, Yaya Mayweather. She went off on fans for being upset that she's living off of her dad's money, right? I mean, her dad's super, super wealthy, and she doesn't really have to work, okay? Now, people are going off on her with her response saying, my dad made it to the point that he doesn't want his kids to work for money. Why are you mad? And I would love to hear from all of you, if you are of the view that that is the point of generational wealth, that if it were up to you, that you had amassed such a large income, and not only is it such a large income, I'm not talking, the people that are able to blow their money. It's a continuous income because of whatever assets, investments, and whatever else that a parent may have. Would you choose to work if you didn't have to? Is it something that you would opt into doing it? Or do you feel like you would be doing philanthropy? And then what is the point of generational wealth? Because I had to ask myself this question, and everybody that I've asked genuinely says they cannot imagine me even going longer than a month of not working, that I would get itchy and I would find something to do. But I also know of people, I heard the story of the gentleman who, I think he was in Australia, young gentleman who won quite a bit of money in a lottery, but it was significant enough that he didn't need to work. And he ended up just playing video games until the wife got tired and left him. And I think for her, the argument was, okay, cool, but like you can't live on the couch playing video games. Because after you've traveled the world, bought the cars, and then what? But maybe we are just way below the tax bracket of people that have generational wealth. But if we are to imagine for a moment what that world would look like, would we be doing it so that our kids never have to work a day in their lives? Because I realize for me, if I say I want to work hard enough that my kids never have to work a day in their lives, I wouldn't expect them not to work a day in their lives. I would still want them to have something that drives them. What's the young girl who's she's the environmentalist, the young girl, the one who people like beefing with her. Oh, I can't remember her name. Why has it gone out my head? You guys know Greta Thunberg. I remembered. Thank you. Greta Thunberg. Okay. Now, somebody was on Greta's case saying, she's a rich, spoiled brat. And then people responded to say, because her parents are rich, isn't that what we expect, Nepo babies, as what they're referred to? Isn't it that we expect them to actually be, that is what you should be doing with your privilege? If your parents are super wealthy that you don't have to work, you should be using your networks, your wealth, your access, your relationships to be, solving some of the causes that are not getting the relevant attention. So I want to hear from all of you. 011 883 0702 and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
702 Afternoons.
With Relebogile Mabotja.
Lines are always open.
On 011
883
0702.
All right, let's hear from all of you. 011 883 0702, the WhatsApp line 072 702 and 702. Sammy in Centurion. How's it, Sammy?
I'm okay, Relebogile. Yeah, Relebogile, for me, it's like this. If I had this super wealth and my parents had left me money and so on, whatever, I'll still go out and work, because I don't think it's about salary, about the need to earn a salary. It's about doing what you want, like what you like. Like, for example, I grew up wanting to be a data scientist, right? So I'll go and get education, and just going out to work and doing what I grew up seeing in movies and say, okay, fine, this is what I want to do. So it wouldn't be about me saying, no, I want to go into report for duty and earning a salary, to just be doing it out of love, like just. So even if you see people whose parents are super wealthy, and then they're doing it like they are going out and they're working, and asking yourself, no, how are they so wealthy and still taking instruction from other people? I don't believe for them it's about earning a salary. It's about just going out and work and maybe interacting with people. So for me, I don't think it's got really to do with money. I think it's about these people wanting to do something, like maybe doing what they love and enjoying interacting with people. Because if you're just going to sit back and saying, I'm going to enjoy my parents' life, my parents' money, I don't know. But for me, I think it boils down to you wanting to do, like, you having ambitions and aspiring to be something, and then doing those things out of love.
I hear you completely, Sam, and I think that is the point, right? Where you can go and do the things that make you happy. You're not looking at which industries should you go into because they'll make you more successful. You're not looking at all of those other things. You're specifically choosing things that drive your passions. Looking at Facebook, Chris says to the question, if you never had to work because of generational wealth, would you still grind? Or is the real win the freedom to choose? Chris says, yes, life demands living for a purpose, for an assignment that is bigger or higher than material comfort. So yes, I would still grind to relate and connect with people, impact them and be impacted by them. Life is about reciprocity. Tsepo says, generational wealth can buy you freedom to choose, but only you can decide the meaning. Oh, Tsepo going deep there. I need to read that again. Generational wealth can buy you freedom to choose, but only you can decide meaning. And I really have nothing to add to that. I think that is well said. Joni says, I would work part-time, something to do with animals. Oh, okay. So you see people's passions are really starting to come out. Booty says, the freedom to choose comes with responsibility. I would work to apply my gifts still. And Booty put work in inverted commas so that we understand it's no longer about the money. It's about something outside of yourself, bigger than yourself. Isaac says, I would still work, generational wealth or not, I'd be bored. Traveling can only be so much fun. Interesting. Some of your voice notes are coming through on 072 702 1702.
Hey, 702. This thing of Nepo babies and stuff, I'll be honest. It's really about the parents. They really want to have the best life their children can have. If it means their children don't have to work, then that's how it is. But personally, me, even if I did have millions on millions of rands, I'd still work because I'd be so bored. What's the point of money if you don't have an objective? If you're not going to do something? Because just sitting around spending money, dude, that's not worth.
Make enough money that your children can do anything, not so much that they can do nothing. Peter Santos.
Hi, Relebogile. On this topic, I think that wealth affords you freedom and it buys you time. It buys you time to self-discover, to try out things, discover what works for you and what doesn't work for you, and what fulfills you and what doesn't. So if I were in that position, I'd definitely be working, but working in things that I'm passionate about, not necessarily for money, but for fulfillment. I don't think human beings can find fulfillment just lounging around and doing nothing. So yeah, I think it would give you the freedom to pursue your passions.
So I have to ask a question around the concept of doing nothing. And thank you to the voice note that said generational wealth is so your children can do anything, not for them to do nothing. I have to really ask a question. What is doing nothing in your mind? Because as the previous person had shared, we are the ones that add meaning to things that we do. So, but maybe you might think that sitting at home playing TV games is doing nothing, but the next person might think that it is not doing nothing. And I'm actually curious about the idea of doing nothing. Like there's this saying we have when somebody, when you get asked, what are you doing? Like, where are you working? And the person will say, Kiduzi. Direct translation is I'm sitting, right? And the implication of I'm sitting is Kiduzi doing nothing, as in you're waiting for something to happen. But I think there are many people who are supposedly doing nothing because it looks like nothing, but they are doing something. I'm pretty sure people are doing something. And I get what you're saying, that you can only travel so much and then what do you do with your time? I mean, in my view, if it means traveling and you're specifically going there to say, I'm going to immerse myself like the locals, learn to speak. Let's say you decide to go spend a year in Italy, where you're going to cooking classes, you are learning Italian, you are all of those things. That could also be a sort of seen as a travel adventure that you might not get tired of. But I'm just curious about this concept of what does it mean when you say a person is doing nothing? Like, what does that mean? Is them getting up and watching TV or scrolling on social media doing nothing? Or in your view, nothing constructive, nothing meaningful, nothing that contributes to society, nothing that gives to others? I'm very, very curious about what we mean when we say a person is doing nothing. More of your voice notes coming through. Call us on 011 883 0702 and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
Aibo. Do we have such people in this country? If there is, please let them bring the money to me. I've got lots of projects that need funding. As far as going to work, it's not an option. They must not go to work because they're going to cause troubles then. Rather take the money, invest in business, and then if the purpose is to interact and then socialize, there's a lot of business that they can invest into or start, and then they can enjoy life. Thank you.
I will never work. Generational wealth, I'll stay home. Win the lotto, I stay home. My kids will never work. Never, ever, ever. I will not tell you I've won the money, but there will be signs.
I love the honesty to say I will never work. To the person who sent through that voice note that I will stay home, I won't work, my children won't work. I absolutely love it. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we continue.
Clement Maniatella.
Weekday mornings,
9 to 12.
9 to 12.
Help me understand this. How can Rand Water not have issues with their infrastructure, but Joburg Water mentions the issue of infrastructure as one of the challenges? Because you guys also work hand in hand together.
Rand Water operates as a bulk supplier, but they operate at that side of the system in the value chain. And the Johannesburg Water is operating at the distribution side. We are affected by the context that affects the municipality. You remember, the shareholder of Johannesburg Water is the city of Johannesburg because city of Johannesburg is the water service authority, while Johannesburg Water is the water service provider, but the authority lies with the city.
Kukuletu Kuma, who's the operations manager for Joburg Water.
Clements Maniatella.
9 to 12 on 702.
Water infrastructure vandalism has tragic and dangerous consequences. The theft of manhole covers can result in fatalities, especially among children. Each damaged pipe, illegal hookup, or vandalized pump jeopardizes access to clean water, disrupts service, and threatens public safety. Report suspicious activity to the City of Johannesburg at 0800 002 587. That's 0800 002 587. Help combat water infrastructure vandalism. Your alertness can prevent disasters. Brought to you by Johannesburg Water, a water utility that cares.
Tip your way to glory in the Hollywood Bets Punters Challenge, the free-to-play horse racing game with daily cash giveaways and massive jackpot prizes. Pick all the winners on the race card and you could win 100,000 Rand. Bet 50 Rand or more on your selections using the Bet Slip feature and you could walk away with 1 million Rand. Visit punterschallenge.hollywoodbets.net today and tip your way to the top.
T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008.
Are you looking for the best spectacle and sunglass deal? With Specsavers buy one get one offer, you get great value for money. Get a free pair of branded single vision prescription sunglasses up to 3,300 Rand when you purchase a comprehensive eye examination and spectacle frames with lenses on your first pair. The best part? Choose from top brands like Police, Hugo, Under Armour, Tommy Hilfiger, Red Bull Spect, and more. Affordable eye care? Specsavers. T's and C's apply.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
The Reserve Bank's Monetary Policy Committee confirming you'll continue to pay the same amount on your debt, interest rates being kept on hold. Patrick Buthelezi is an economist.
And the reason why they reduced the inflation forecast is because of the currency that has been extremely strong. But now that is the one side. But the thing here is they are targeting inflation at about 3% and they want to anchor inflation expectations at 3%.
The Money Show
on 702. 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes is brought to you by ABSA CIB. That's how we're invested in your story. Your story matters. ABSA is a registered FSP.
Your voice.
Your life.
Your afternoon radio.
On 702 Afternoons.
With Relebogile Mabotja.
28 minutes after 1 o'clock, and we have been chatting about generational wealth. If you had it or your parents had it, that you, your children, children's children, and beyond never had to work a day in your lives, would you do it? And some of the messages coming through on Facebook, and you can get in touch with us, 011 883 702, and the WhatsApp line 072 702 and 702. Tyrone says, those people that do nothing end up doing drugs because they're bored and experiment on anything and everything. Maikazi says, I would continue to grind, even if it's at a minimal, so the next generation can also do things they love for work, not things they think will bring lots of money, even though they don't love them. Gabisile says, I'd continue to grind. It will make sure that the generational wealth goes on. When we stop grinding, the money stops coming to top up the money we already have. Messi says, yes, but it's not out of desperation, but self-empowerment, and that's why I would keep grinding. Itumeleng says, now my kids will know life skills, financial literacy. My children should know, and you should teach your child life itself, like home economics. Skumbuzo says, my little sister graduated from NW. I realized at her graduation that there was a set of white parents that sent their kids to university just to enhance their skills to be able to look after the massive wealth. So a child growing up in massive wealth may not have to work as hard as a child who came out of poverty. I mean, imagine doing your first year with a Ford Raptor. Why on earth would you need to work harder? Well, I think some interesting points are being raised about teaching your children life skills. And the person who is saying, well, to continue the generational wealth, you have to keep working. When we say generational wealth, we're speaking about not only do you have piles of money are still coming in monthly. What is it that they say about a billionaire? To keep it into perspective, I must find that saying. But even if they spent a certain amount of money a day, it would take 32 years for that money to finish. That's what we mean by generational wealth. Not, okay, well, my parents are rich. No. As in, like, they own something that keeps pouring. Imagine Abu Paris Hilton. That's generational wealth. It's not going to finish. For as long as there are Hilton hotels all over the world, the money's going to keep coming in. Thank you so much for all of your comments. It is 1:30. Time for your latest Eyewitness News headlines. Good afternoon.
Thanks, Relebogile. Good afternoon. Action SA is proposing that only 10,000 new applications for asylum seekers be considered by government each year. It's making the proposal as part of its submission on the revised white paper on citizenship, immigration and refugee protection. The paper was published for public comment by the Home Affairs Department last year. Parliament will in the coming weeks be presented with a whistleblower protection bill that seeks to address critical gaps in safeguarding those who expose corruption in the country. President Cyril Ramaphosa announced the introduction of the bill to Parliament during his State of the Nation address last week. Justice and Constitutional Development Minister Mamloko Kubai says the bill will work in tandem with the Witness Protection Act. And the Cape Peninsula University of Technology has dismissed last week's student protest outside the State of the Nation address venue as nothing more than a stunt for attention. Hundreds of students gathered outside the Cape Town City Hall hoping to catch the attention of the president. They say there's an ongoing accommodation crisis at CPUT. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 2 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, at this hour, if you are leaving the Melrose area heading towards the Joburg CBD, expect heavy delays. This is on the M1 southbound between Ethel Oaklands and Killarney Bends. Otherwise, the rest of 702 land looking pretty good. No major delays or serious accidents have been reported on our highways. Just look out for those faulty traffic lights though in Amalgam at Main Reef Road and Church. Traffic lights still not working in Poleshoff. at Witkoppen and Main. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9.
The Minister of Water and Sanitation, Phemi Majodina, was in Addis Ababa. She was part of a water breakfast event held on the sidelines of the African Union summit over the past weekend. She went and did the clouds are gathering again. And then she goes, thunder! Double thunder! Double thunder! Thunder! This is an international water song. When we say clouds are gathering, you've got water experts, scientists, engineers. What do you make of it? This, to me, seems like a minister who is unserious. Tell me I'm wrong.
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9.
On 702.
Growing a business is a 24/7 job. In fact, 55% of small business owners say they can never switch off. Usually it's personal moments like missed date nights and long overdue holidays that pay the price. Zero wants to help you claim one back with an emotional tax return. To enter, share a moment you missed while growing your business on Instagram stories and tag at Zero, that's XCR, spelled with an X of course. Competition ends on the 22nd of March. T's and C's apply.
Every day I'm hustling. It's our reality as business owners. And it's good to know that there's someone out there who takes care of the business that makes the business. Gotta love My Way Business Insurance. Saving big on premiums with 24/7 emergency services, plus My Business Assist with marketing, legal, and labor advice services.
Visit myway.co.za or dial 0860 64 64 64 and get a quote today. My Way is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's, C's, and standard rates apply. My Way. Live your way.
If you run a business, your vehicles aren't just vehicles. They're capital investments on four wheels, and capital should perform. On Friday, the 20th of February, 702 will take you inside Pro One, an exclusive Stellantis showcase spotlighting the Peugeot professional pickup range engineered for South African businesses, from construction to agriculture to logistics. If your fleet is due for an upgrade and you mean business, tune in on Friday for live insights from the floor. Power your business with the confidence of Peugeot Professional on 702.
WhatsApp Relebogile on 072 702 1702.
All right, we are doing something very, very special. And before we head there, take a listen to this.
Greetings. Do you honestly believe that if you just give a child money and they never learn the importance of money, that they're going to be responsible with whatever you give them? No. Everybody must work for their money. Even the rich kids, those that are taught about money, know that they have to appreciate money. So why would you just want to... I mean, that's like telling a child you don't have to learn to crawl before you walk. You can just run or run a marathon. Really?
Hi, Relebogile. That concept of doing nothing. I mean, I'm actually quite familiar with that. I took a break of about 4 years, and when people said to me, "What are you doing?" I said, "Nothing." And then I had to think about it. I was actually quite busy. You know, I was doing a lot. I was traveling. I was living between La Jolla, outside San Diego, and going to Los Angeles, going to New York. And generally, I was really busy. But I was lucky in the sense that I also knew a group of guys that were in the same boat that I was in. So we all got together and actually did a hell of a lot. But we all of us like to say, no, we're not doing anything. You know, we're doing nothing. Until you start thinking about how you're spending your day.
In 900 meters,
and that changes things.
exit left.
Hi, good afternoon. Must say I love your program and I love your positive attitude. It's a big pick-me-up for Mondays. Okay, now I'm a pensioner. What do we do? Nothing all day. But we are so busy and exhausted. Doing nothing but achieving a lot. Maybe just reflecting makes us remember how much we did do that was unnecessary. Anyway, my 2 cents worth for your conversation today. Have a good one. Bye.
Thank you so much for those voice notes. Very interesting, the concept of doing nothing. I actually am going to have a conversation with all of you about retirement and what happens to some people in retirement. So we'll have that conversation quite soon.
Fashion, art, and music will take center stage. And so can you by playing the Mahindra Fusion Fest quiz on 702.
The Mahindra Fusion Fest 2026 goes down on Saturday, the 7th of March at Sunbet Arena, and it's going to be a cultural revolution, fusing unique expressions of music, fashion, and art into one-off performances for one night only. Muesli is hosting again with live performances by Daliwonga Vocalistic, Kurt Darren, Claire Johnston from Mango Groove, Zingumalo, the Tswani Gospel Choir, and more. Get your tickets now at Ticketmaster. Complete a test drive at your nearest Mahindra showroom and stand a chance to win the Mahindra XUV 3XO. T's and C's apply. So we did ask one of you to send through the word Mahindra with your full name and ID number, and that we could be calling you. And then you get to play to potentially win 10,000 Rand in cash. We've got Mpumelelo Mia from Pretoria. How are you, Mpumelelo?
Hello, I am right now. My heart is pacing, but I'll be fine.
You'll be fine. There's money on the line here, Mpumelelo. All right, so you get to choose in the category that you're going to answer questions. Would you like to choose art, fashion, or music?
Music, please.
You'd like to choose music? All right. Now you're going to get 30 seconds to answer 5 questions from the music category. Each correct question earns you 2,000 Rand cash. So now it's time to play the Mahindra Fusion Fest quiz. Are you ready, Mpumelelo?
As ready as I can be.
All right, let's start the clock. True or false, DJs play music at festivals?
True.
Name a musical instrument.
Piano.
What are song words called?
Lyrics.
Who sings songs?
Musicians.
Who sings songs?
Singers.
Music is a core part of Mahindra Fusion Fest.
Yes.
All right. I'm looking at the judges. All right. We are looking at the judges. Unfortunately, we can't give you where we said who sings songs and you answered musician. I'm looking at the judges. I mean, technically, but we were looking for something more after the third time. But guess what, Mpumelelo?
What?
Do you want to know what? You've won
Tell
yourself
me.
8,000 Rand cash!
Amazing.
8,000 Rand cash. That is brought to you courtesy of Mahindra. And not just that, you also get 2 tickets to the fest, and you're going to have such a fantastic time there at Sunbet Arena. Congratulations. And this is, of course, brought to you by Mahindra Fusion Fest 2026, powered by 702. Catch us again tomorrow for another chance to play the Mahindra Fusion Fest quiz on 702. Every day this week, we're going to be playing, and we have 10,000 Rand to give away.
702 Movies.
Movies and what to stream time at 19 minutes to 2 o'clock. Adelaide Moyeng, founder of Movies and Stuff SA, joins us. Adelaide, let's jump straight into it. What is our first pick?
Hi, Relebogile. Hi, everybody. Interesting. Can that guy please share his with me?
We also want to be shared with, Gail.
Hey, next time you must call me. We can do this together. But I'm going to get straight into the recommendation for this week. First things first is a TV show that premiered last week on Showmax, which is called The Birds. And it's actually based on the old 1980 2009 Tom Hanks film with the same name, and it's actually being led by Keke Palmer, which I love her. I absolutely love her. Unfortunately, I'm going to be very biased with this one. And obviously, for those who don't know who Keke Palmer is, she is on Nope, and she's also on Hustlers. And essentially, The Birds is about a young family that moves back to the husband's childhood home in what's said to be called the safest town in America, only to uncover really dark, deep secrets, and all of them stay in like a cul-de-sac. So it's actually quite interesting how everything is within that circle of friends. Keke Palmer's husband is being played by British comedian Jack Whitehall, who we know from Jungle Cruise or The After Party. And there's a bunch of other people as well in the cast that are really, really good. Like I said, it is a bit dark. It is on the mystery side. It is a little darker than expected. But I think it's more interesting because it's all self-contained. And again, how can the safest town in America also be the most dangerous one? So I think that's something that people could get into if you're looking for something different to just try out.
Okay, that sounds like one that we should be considering. What is our next one?
Okay, and then the next TV show as well is Cross. The second season of Cross has actually come out on the 11th of February, and season 1 did really, really well. I think when it comes to this TV show, it's a really good investment on Prime side because there's a lot of shows that are competing with different streaming sites, but this one in particular is doing very, very well, as we can see with season 2 coming out. It's actually starring Aldous Hodge, who we know from Black Adam and What Men Want. Very, very handsome man. I need to just add that. And also, his co-star is Isaiah Mustafa, who we know from those old Spice commercials. We never really seen him do acting work as much as commercials that he's done because he went viral for doing those commercials. But now he's actually acting as well. And for those who are not familiar with Cross, it's actually a crime thriller that's based on a best-selling book by a book series by James Patterson. And obviously it's Alex Cross, and he's this brilliant homicide detective and a family man. You know, he works with his partner and his crew to find America's most dangerous minds. But the second season is very interesting. He actually has to protect this billion-dollar guy who is his life is threatened. But because he's obviously a billionaire, there's so many different people that could actually be coming for him and, you know, putting his life in danger. So it's up to Alex Cross and his team to try and figure out who it is. But the most interesting part about it is the suspect that is going after the billionaire is not who they expect, and it just ends up being a whole bag of worms that they need to really contain. But it's really, really good. I really loved the trailer so far. And an interesting fact as well is that this character is its fourth appearance on screen. Tyler Perry also played Alex Cross in a movie in 2012, and Morgan Freeman has also played in 2 movies by the same name. So it's just one of those concepts that just do so well when it comes to crime and investigation.
Okay, then we've got the Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip.
Yeah, so there's been an announcement that the Ultimate Girls Trip will have its first ever reunion, and it's going to be a 2-parter. The first part is coming out this week, and the second part is actually coming next week. It'll obviously be presented by Mabotja, who we've come to love and know to do the reunion specials. And yeah, I think for those who have not watched the season, please do. It's actually quite entertaining, very dramatic. So, yeah, you need to be ready for the drama that the Real Housewives come with. And I've also exclusively interviewed Angel as well, so you can go to my YouTube page to check that out if you're interested in finding out about that.
Okay, and then what else do we have to look out for?
Right. There's 2 films that have come out this week. You know, just to still stick with the Valentine's theme, there's this lovely, lovely, very cute movie which is called Is This Thing On? And I love the title already as well. And it's actually in cinemas, but it will also be on Disney Plus very soon. And it's essentially, it's actually for someone directed by Bradley Cooper, which I found very interesting. He doesn't do a lot of directing, but when he does, I think it's something to look into. to. And essentially it's about a divorced couple that are basically trying to reclaim their identities during the divorce, trying to navigate co-parenting. And also the main character is actually based off of John Bishop. He's this British comedian who became a comedian through going to stand-up pubs and actually talking about his divorce. He found that as his own way of therapy, and he became a comedian after that. It worked out so well for him that he became a full-time comedian. And yeah, it's such a very lovely film, very nuanced, and I just love the different take on what love can mean for different people. And obviously in the month of love, it's not always just about, relationships between romantic partners. Love can also have its different types of, forms of what it could be. And in this film, they navigate that, especially between a divorced couple where they're still trying to figure out what is going on between them. Should they work things out, or are they better off just being, a family unit instead? And yeah, it's really funny, it's really cute and wholesome, so wholesome. I love the trailer.
Okay, so there are so many options of so many things to watch. And then we've also got on Netflix Reunion.
Yes. So Reunion is actually a film that came out in 2024. But essentially, the Reunion is, if you think about...
Adelaide, I'm losing you. I think your fingers on your mic. Just go...
Sorry, can you hear me now?
There we go. Yes.
Okay, sorry. So Reunion is actually a very fun concept. If you can think about all of the friends that you had in high school, and obviously years later you guys have a reunion. However, a snowstorm happens and everybody is trapped inside the house where you guys are having a reunion. The following day, one of the people have been murdered, and now you guys have to try and figure out who committed the murder and why. But essentially you're stuck with all of your high school friends, and obviously you haven't seen them in many, many years. It's very difficult for people to try and trace who did it and who did what. If you like Knives Out and murder mysteries, I think you'd also really love Reunion. It's very funny, but it also has that element of mystery and murder and solving the situation itself, because again, like, what would you do? You haven't seen these people in almost 10 to 20 years, and now you guys have to figure out who murdered your high school friend as well. Definitely something that people should look into. It's on Netflix, like I said.
And you wanted to tell us about Bricks TV.
Oh yeah, it's something that I just found very interesting to share with people. As we all know, we are part of BRICS as South Africa, but actually there is a BRICS TV channel that is completely free, and it launched last week, mid-Feb, and essentially it's just it's like a global TV network where they share news, documentaries, and cultures from the BRICS countries that we all know of, and it's completely free. Like I said as well, it is on DSTV as well. It's channel 509 for those who are really interested. And they do try and focus a lot on telling African and developing world stories to, global audiences such as ourselves and all the other countries that we are together with in BRICS. I just thought that was a very fascinating thing that nobody really spoke about. So for those who would really like to get into that, it's totally free, and like I said, it is on channel 509 on DSTV, just to get into something different, socio-economical content as well for those who are interested.
They also have documentaries, so it won't all just be current affairs and things like that. So that's BRICS TV channel 509. Thank you so much, Adelaide Moyeng. Make sure you follow her on Movies and Stuff SA.
In the last 24 hours, this is what's happened in your world.
2 more people have been arrested in connection with the murder of an e-hailing driver in Pretoria. Isaac David Sutlatz was strangled to death, allegedly by passengers who had requested the e-hailing service last Wednesday. The crime was captured on his car's dash cam and has been widely circulated online. These latest arrests bring the number of suspects in custody to 3.
The 2 male suspects, who are aged 30 and 26, will join the third suspect, aged 25, who was arrested on Friday, the 13th of February.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent.
Media is changing fast. The question is, Are you leading it or chasing it? The Pulse Media Leadership Conference is a one-day gathering of bold thinkers shaping what's next for media, marketing and leadership. It all happens on the 26th of February from 8 a.m. till 5 p.m. at the Galleria Conference venue in Sandton. Expect insights from Springbok coach Rassie Erasmus, CEO of Mongrey Capital Michael Jordan, and global marketing icon Seth Godin, who will be joining live from New York via Zoom. Tickets are on sale now at ticketpro.co.za. Prime Media Broadcasting is a proud sub-sponsor of the Pulse Media Leadership Conference.
Clientele is here to safeguard you and your family with compassion because life happens. Be part of a family that truly cares. Our funeral dignity plans have helped South Africans bury their loved ones with dignity for more than 30 years. Let us help you create a meaningful tribute that honors your life and those of your loved ones. We pay out within 24 hours and you will get double accident cover with a clientele funeral plan. Our plans are affordable. Pick the option that suits your needs. It's easy to apply. No medical examinations and no paperwork. SMS funeral to 31586. That's 31586. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
When the Mahindra Fusion Fest 2026, powered by 702, brings you Z, Focalistic, Dali Wonga, Zoe Mudiga, and more. Fashion, art, and music will take center stage. And so can you by playing the daily Mahindra Fusion Fest quiz on 702 for up to 10,000 Rand and 2 tickets to the fest. WhatsApp the keyword Mahindra to 072-702-1702 with your name and ID number. Every day this week from 1 p.m., 702 afternoons with Relebogile Mabotja could call you back. The Mahindra Fusion Fest 2026, powered by 702. TCs and more on primemediaplus.com.
702.
Travel. 6 minutes to 2 o'clock in our travel feature for today, which had to Gabby Brondani about why heading over to the Seychelles last minute is a good idea. 011-883-702 and the WhatsApp line 072-702-1702. Happy Monday, Gabby. Let's jump straight into it. What makes this so convenient and a good idea?
Good afternoon. So we are big fans of the Seychelles. It's really one of the most accessible last-minute destinations for anyone traveling from South Africa. Very simple, seamless logistics. You've got direct flights with Air Seychelles. Just one important thing to note about that is that Air Seychelles doesn't fly every single day from South Africa to the Seychelles. So if you are planning a trip, just check the Air Seychelles website to see which days of the week that they do fly into Seychelles and back into South Africa. Another really great thing to know about the Seychelles, no visas are required if you're traveling on a South African passport. You just need to complete a digital travel authorization form before departure. This is mandatory. The Seychelles government requires it. It's really easy. It takes 2 minutes, and it just helps streamline arrivals at the airport. In terms of planning and booking, a lot of the resorts offer your all-inclusive packages. You've got your Club Med, which is probably one of the most well-known in the Seychelles, which means your families, your couples, your groups of friends, your momcations, you can book quite late or quite soon before Easter if you wanted to travel over Easter or last minute without worrying about any of the complicated planning or unexpected extras, which also makes your spontaneous escapes a little bit easier and more streamlined and, less admin, less logistics that you have to stress about if you are planning a last-minute trip.
Okay, and it does sound super convenient because, it's so close by. It's not that long of a flight and you can do last minute without having to worry about visa admin. So in terms of the easiness of it, what is another reason why you would say, if you need somewhere last minute to go, this is the place?
So you've got actually so many activities that you can enjoy with your, again, traveling families, couples, groups of friends. For families, you've got glass bottom boat trips, you've got snorkeling, you've got sea kayaking. You can enjoy trips to the Seychelles National Botanical Garden, which is a wonderful day trip. You can enjoy various cultural stops. For couples and groups of friends, you've got romantic private beach dinners under the stars that you can organize. You've got sunset catamaran cruises, quiet picnics on secluded coves, which you can reach by kayak or by bike. So there's really a lot from an outdoorsy perspective or a beach perspective to enjoy in the Seychelles.
Is the Seychelles quite family friendly? I think the time I traveled there, it was not really around resorts because I was working. Fantastic weather, amazing oceans. I'll encourage anybody to go there. But does it have that reputation like a Mauritius, for example, where it's very, very centered around children?
It depends also, as with any destination, where you plan to book. So there are definitely quite a few resorts around the Seychelles that are very catered and geared towards your families. Again, your Club Med with their all-inclusive kids club, one of the most magical. I know for a fact that the Club Med resort, once you land in the Seychelles, it's a really short boat ride to the resort. You get there immediately. So that is definitely one of the quickest and most convenient. I think it is growing, not to the extent as Mauritius, as many family-friendly resorts, but it's definitely growing in popularity. So again, just do your research before you book and plan a trip to the Seychelles. But yes, logistics-wise, very easy, very convenient for families.
And then, of course, it is quite a romantic destination as well if you want to leave the kids behind.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And it's the perfect break. So even if you wanted to take a trip as a couple, leave the kids behind, or if you're just a couple in general, you can go for a few days. You could even go for 3-4 days if you wanted to make it a long weekend. But again, just double check the schedule of Air Seychelles to make sure you're not going to be stuck on the island.
And I think that is a really, really good idea. So what are some of the other tips you would advise a person who does decide, hey, I'm just going to book this flight? I know you and I are both fans of all-inclusive, so you don't have to worry about anything. But let's look at some of those tips.
Awesome. So one of the tips would be to pre-book 1 or 2 key experiences. So you could consider the Takamaka Rum Distillery, a guided snorkeling tour, a sunset cruise, that kind of thing. You've got your various day trips. Another tip, keep packing light. It's an island. The weather most of the time is really great. Even if you are traveling during a season where it's scheduled to rain, the showers are normally quite quick and then it's done. So yeah, keep packing light. Another tip, if you can, island hop. A quick ferry or a flight to President or Ladigue, it instantly elevates your trip and it just gives you access to a whole bunch of different beaches and landscapes and the broader Seychelles experience overall. So yes, island hop if you can.
All right. And if you are to chat about pricing, where would you say a trip to Seychelles sort of fits in relation to this type of holiday? Do you think it's quite reasonable or it's more on the pricier side?
Again, it depends on when you book. I'm a big fan of traveling off season or during shoulder season where you are likely to get much better flight rates and also much better prices at the different resorts. So if your time is flexible, look during the off-season or off-peak or shoulder season. You definitely are likely to get some good rates for the Seychelles.
All right, and there's a WhatsApp message that says, I visited the Seychelles many years ago. It was one of the most beautiful places we visited. Went to 3 islands. I would recommend this island for a once-in-a-lifetime visit. That is from Anthony. Thank you so much. Now we all have to book a trip to Seychelles. What are we going to do? In the next hour of the show, we have Dr. Chris Smith and our Parenting and Parents feature. We're going to be talking about the first heartbreak and break up and guiding your child through that audible one. 8830 in the WhatsApp line 0727021702.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. Action SA is proposing that only 10,000 new applications for asylum seekers be considered by government each year. It's making the proposal as part of its submission on the revised white paper on citizenship, immigration and refugee protection. It was published for public comment by Home Affairs Department last year. The party says its proposals are based on the reality that uncontrolled immigration policy failures and weak enforcement have resulted in the exploitation of foreign nationals and displaced South Africans from fair access to jobs, services and opportunities. Lindsay Dendlinger has more.
Action SA is proposing that quotas be set per nationality for determining asylum and refugee applications to ensure no single nationality dominates inflows while still protecting genuine cases. MP Malebo Kobe says annual migration targets should be presented to Parliament to improve oversight, fiscal planning and service delivery. The party says it supports the first safe country principle proposed in the white paper, making it clear that those who pass through safe third countries are ineligible to seek asylum in South Africa.
Our system currently rewards non-compliance, undermines labour standards and national security, and leaves citizens competing for scarce resources in their own country.
Action SA believes asylum permits should only be valid for 12 months, that refugee status be reviewed upon renewal and automatically revoked or rejected if the individual returns to their country of origin at any point. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
Parliament will in the coming weeks be presented with a whistleblower protection bill that seeks to address critical gaps in safeguarding those who expose corruption in the country. President Cyril Ramaphosa announced the introduction of the bill to Parliament during his State of the Nation address last week. Justice and Constitutional Development Minister Mamoloko Kubai says the bill will work in tandem with the Witness Protection Act. Kubai outlines some of what the new bill will entail.
What the bill then says is that you have 5 days to act on that. If you don't, you must tell the person that has blown the whistle why you are not acting. If you are referring the matter, you must refer that matter within 5 days.
She says a judge will oversee each complaint.
There will be a judge who plays an oversight role that the complainant can go to say, Minister Kubai was given a whistleblower information to protect the state. She did not act, and therefore consequences will follow from that point.
The son of struggle icon Fort Kalata has apologized and retracted statements that he made about politicians during his testimony at the TRC cases inquiry. The inquiry resumed this morning with testimony from Lukhanyo Kalata. His father, Fort, was part of men known as the Cradock Four. They were assassinated by apartheid special branch police in 1985 while travelling from Port Elizabeth to Cradock in the Eastern Cape. During his testimony, Kalata has reflected on the role that he believes some politicians have played in hindering the administration of justice.
It was, again, the decisions of politicians that ultimately led to my father being, and us being denied justice for his life. We sit here today at this commission of inquiry, having led some evidence, or just evidence, about the role politicians had played in preventing the implementations of recommendations of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission.
But today he has apologized for his choice of words.
Commissioners, I wish to retract the generalization of me calling politicians the scum of the earth, but I do find that the bulk of the politicians that I have had personal interactions with, they're morally bankrupt.
The Cape Peninsula University of Technology has dismissed last week's student protests outside the State of the Nation address venue as nothing more than a stunt for attention. Hundreds of students gathered outside Cape Town City Hall hoping to catch the attention of President Cyril Ramaphosa. They say there's an ongoing accommodation crisis at the institution. Students also complained about poor living conditions and claimed some were evicted by CPUT from a private residence. Ntutu Zelonene has more.
The Cape Peninsula University of Technology has rejected these claims, saying the protests misrepresented the facts. CPUT spokesperson Lauren Kansley says only a handful of the protesting students were without beds and those students were assisted. She adds that the main issue is students who arrive late without approved accommodation and still expect to be placed. Kansley maintains that the university has processes in place to allocate resident space to funded students and those doing well academically.
So there is a new rule within this FUS where they expect you to be passing 60% of your subject load. Sometimes that has excluded some students, and of course they are not happy about that.
The university says it remains committed to engaging students through formal channels and support qualifying students. Dr. Zalonene, Eyewitness News.
And a trail has A train has derailed in southwest Switzerland. According to reports, the derailment happened at around 7 a.m. after it was hit by an avalanche. Authorities say there were approximately 30 passengers on board at the time of the derailment. Fresh snowfall and storms have resulted in a large amount of wind-drifted snow in that region. According to the Institute for Snow and Avalanche Research, avalanches can easily be triggered or occur spontaneously in these conditions. Gold is trading at $5,022.18 an ounce. The rand is at 15.96 to the dollar, 21.79 to the pound, 18.94 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $67.78 a barrel.
Well, at this stage, if you are heading into the Pretoria CBD, expect some delays. N14 northbound approaching Khosimam-Puru, and in Melrose, we still have slow-moving traffic heading towards the Joburg CBD area. This is M1 southbound between Ethel Oaklands and Killarney Bends.
It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng today. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 24 and 26 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. Action SA is proposing that only 10,000 new applications for asylum seekers be considered by government every year.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Relebogile Mabotja.
Live, streaming countrywide
On the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
8 minutes after 2 o'clock, it is the second and final hour of 7:02 afternoons with me, Relebogile Mabotja, on this Monday, the 16th of February. We're going to be jumping into a conversation around guiding your child through their early relationship emotions, like their first heartbreak. And maybe you are a parent who actually wants to say, Relebogile, I don't want to know if my child is dating. That thing is not allowed while you're in school. You can also share that with us. That'll be our parenting and parents feature. And then the Naked Scientist, we will be taking all of your science-related questions for Dr. Chris Smith. Get in touch with us. 011 883 0702. SMS us 31702. Tweet at Relebogile M at Radio 702 using the hashtag 702 Afternoons and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
Parenting and Parents
on 702.
Parenting and Parents time on 702. And we are chatting your child's first heartbreak, their first breakup, their first whatever romantic issues that they experience. Maybe they're an older teenager. Maybe you're a lot more open and you know your child has somebody they're interested in. How do you navigate and help them navigate all of those emotions? Get in touch with us, 011 883 0702, and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. We're joined by qualified counseling psychologist Yogini Pakari for this conversation. Welcome to the show, Yogini. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, Relebogile and 702 listeners, and thank you for engaging us on such an important topic.
Okay, so let's kick off with maybe from a psychology perspective for parents to get to know and understand. At what age does the opposite sex stop being gross and we start being interested, so that we are quite real about at what point kids start having these emotions?
I mean, if we start off with puberty, it kicks off sometimes on the early onset around 9, but usually between 11 and 14 years. And that becomes a time of exploration where children are learning more about their bodies and learning that other people's bodies are sometimes different. Even within the same sex, the development of other bodies can be different. So it is during that time of exploration, it can be as early as primary school, where children start getting crushes or they start to feel a certain affinity or a certain closeness towards other peers. Mind you, this can be in the form of friendships, or it could be more towards the crushes and the romantic relationships. But a breakup with a friend can be just as heartbreaking and devastating as a breakup with a girlfriend or a boyfriend.
So if then that is the case where okay, your kids might start being interested in the opposite sex, or if they are not heterosexual, but they start taking a liking to somebody else, meaning they're now open and vulnerable to being rejected. What are you seeing from your perspective in terms of what parents allow? Because you get parents who'll say, you're not allowed to have a boyfriend until you matriculate, and sometimes, or a girlfriend, sometimes that teaches the child just to hide things better.
It is a little bit challenging when there's that element of control, because if you have not developed an open and a transparent relationship with your child, they run the risk of going through all these very confusing experiences without feeling safe to come to you. If we take a step back to attachment theory from the psychological perspective, it goes as early as infancy, where a child will attach to a primary, your primary attachment source, which is usually the mum, and they will look towards that person for safety, security, and nurturing, which is your basic primary needs as a human being. But as they develop through life, they will have other attachment experiences, and unfortunately, some children may also experience some sort of loss or rejection very early on already. This could be the loss of a parent or the primary caregiver. It could be the loss of a key caregiver, or even the divorce of parents, separation of parents. All of these experiences can already seem like rejection.
Okay, so let's go back to the part, and I completely acknowledge, Yogini, that we are obviously acknowledging that as a young person and a teenager, they're going to be dealing with many complicated emotions through their different relationships, be it through siblings, be it through their extended family, cousins, grandparents, aunts, and uncles. But when it comes to the part of navigating romantic relationships and the conversation that they would need to have with their parents at the time, we really want to help parents with navigating the space. So let's start at the part of, if you are a parent listening and you don't even know if your child is dating or not, but you suspect, how would you advise they start to open that up?
And that will take us back to that transparent relationship. If you have any sort of routine with your child, whether that's school pick up or making a snack before or after homework, or even if they have a chore like packing away the dishes or doing the dishes in the evening, parents can capitalize on these moments where they can use it for connection with their child. It will help that communication barrier if there is one, but it will also help develop a closeness so that if they are going through any difficult experiences with friends or a romantic situation, they can feel open to talk about it. It's also moments in time, if you take note of those kind of routines that I'm mentioning, where you're not really making direct eye contact, and that sometimes helps teens communicate better and open up a little bit more freely because they're not staring you in the face. And what you as a parent need to do is use those moments during your usual routine every day to connect with them and reassure them that you are there if they are ever wanting to speak. You are there if they are ready, especially if you've noticed a change in behavior, whether it's eating habits or how they move around things they usually enjoy, or how they're moving around people they usually like being around. If you see that there's that change in behavior, you can make note of it. I've noticed that you haven't been as happy after school as you usually are. I'm not sure what's going on, but if ever you want to talk, you can come to me. So it's very important for parents to first and foremost open that communication channel.
And I think that that is such a big, important thing that you have mentioned. There's a WhatsApp message from Chad who says, my dad expects me to marry a textbook one day. He seldom asks about how I am, only wants to know how my studies are. This studies sounds like she's from a good family, is what Chad has to say. How would you respond to that?
I think this is where, and my heart really goes out to parents because it's not an easy task. But the psychological responsibility of the parent is to model emotional regulation and develop emotional intelligence. This is amongst the million other tasks that they have as a parent, being the financial support, the protector, the provider. It's a myriad of responsibilities. But where we find that homes and parents, because of time and other social, economical, and political factors, would neglect is that psychological and emotional development. So what happens then is we're so hyper-focused on one element of a child's development being their scholastic or academic that we're not nurturing their social skills and their interpersonal relationship skills. And this is a challenge because it sets them up for failure in those areas later in life.
And I think that that is such a big deal that you are mentioning. But we actually have a voice note that is coming through on 072702 and 702. And before we go to that voice note, I want to invite you as parents to come and share and be open and honest about the realities of your children dating and how you navigate. I know that young people will make skits on social media of like dealing with your heartbreak, but you live in an African home, they'll say, for example, and there you are crying and the mom's like, I told you if you just stuck to your studies, you wouldn't be here crying, you wouldn't be this. But in reality, what is the guidance that we want to give them, Yogini?
I think we could try to talk it away. We could try to lecture it away. We can minimize it and say there'll be many other friendships and relationships. Or we can even jump on the bandwagon and criticize and attack the ex or the person who is on the other end of this romantic relationship. But none of that is going to help your child develop the skills that they're going to need lifelong. This is moving into their early adulthood. And these are skills around conflict management, internally and externally. How do they sit in their feelings? How do they make sense of their feelings? How do they know what their value systems are? So these are parts of children that also need to be nurtured. Nobody is going to teach them this if it's not being taught at home. So it is important that parents first and foremost model their own emotional regulation and show through embodiment their own coping strategies so that children can also learn, because children absorb a lot just by watching and observing.
Yes.
So they really take in a lot of knowledge on how to move through life, right? So it is very important as adults that we are able to model emotional intelligence in the way that when we go through something difficult, we can acknowledge it and we can validate that this is a big feeling. I'm feeling something. This is it that I'm feeling. And this is actually what it means to feel it. Like I feel a big sad. I would often say to my nephews, I have a big sad. Because they will notice. They will feel that you're not your usual self. If something is emotionally going on. And I would say, yes, I have a big sad, and this is why I have a big sad. It's also important as parents to then model appropriate behavioral responses. There's an age-old saying that hurt people hurt people. And where does that come from? It comes from people who have been emotionally hurt, whether through rejection, whether through loss, whether through life just not going the way they hoped it to be. But you have all this difficult and complex feelings, and you go around spilling it onto people who weren't even a part of those experiences. So it is important that we model appropriate behavioral responses But the first and foremost, most important thing is for parents to be emotionally available parents who are present and engaged. And unfortunately, that goes beyond the provisions and the security and the, the nurturance of parenting is beyond the physical needs. It's deep emotionally and psychologically.
Can you maybe also share with us in terms of, I was chatting to my sister yesterday and we were discussing how sometimes, even as a grown up, you just need your parent, you just need your mom, or you just need your dad. Why, in a situation where a young teen has had their heart broken or is dealing with difficult emotions, do they still want their parent and not a friend or some other person?
I suppose it would depend because not every child has a safe space in a parent. It's just the reality of the world we're living in. But they may have a safe space in a trusted elder, or unfortunately, sometimes it's only when they go to school do they make connections with safe spaces. That could be an educator, a school counselor, a principal, or a friend. The risk of holding a safe space at a peer level is your friend sometimes doesn't know more than you know. And maybe they can just sit with you, but the next step might be a bit more difficult to come together with. So we go back to where our safety net is, and sometimes that's a parent. As a whole grown person myself, there's sometimes I just want to sit with my parents, even if they don't have the right words to help me with whatever emotionally is going on. Just their presence is sometimes comforting as well.
And I think that is well said. And I really just wanted to reiterate that so that as parents, as uncomfortable as it may be, seeing your little baby now dating or considering dating, it might be overwhelming, but the door being open actually offers you an opportunity to be the mature guiding voice in their life. Badimo says, afternoon, Relebogile. I'm a single father parent of 2 teenage daughters. I realized one of them is dating after she became too body conscious, especially on her nudity. Badimo, I have a few questions because I'm not sure if this message is implying what I think it is. So, and please correct me. What I understand your message is saying is that your child covers their body up maybe when they're naked, and that's when in your mind you realized that one of them is dating. But maybe we can touch on this briefly because I'm not even sure if they're related. Are you Guinea in a situation like this where you have a single father parent to teenage daughters saying for him he realized that one of them is dating after she became body conscious on her nudity? I would imagine that would be a natural progression anyways, that at some point your daughter might not want her dad to see her naked.
It definitely depends on the type of family dynamic and how puberty comes into play. It would depend on each and every individual's comfortability around their body changes. And of course, in puberty, it's such a confusing time because not only is your body physically changing, but your hormones are raging and you're trying to comprehend all of this while your brain is still developing. So your prefrontal cortex hasn't fully developed, but that emotional control room, it's wiring on all fronts. So there might be that now full realization that actually my body is different to dad's and it's doing all these new things and I don't feel comfortable. What I'm not fully understanding, Relebogile, is the question behind the comment or the concern. But it is normal for teenagers to start moving differently about how they expose their body. A way they might express this is the way they choose to dress, whereas some of them might choose to express themselves with a particular subculture style. You might find others who feel more comfortable in a conservative persona that they show through their dressing. So it does differ in levels of comfortability. And because something has been noticed, that might be a good segue to open up that communication channel to say that I've noticed that you do X, Y, and Z differently now. Do you want to chat to me about that? And not from a judgmental way, because what's really important at this age is everything that's happening is questioning their self-love or their self-worth. Am I worth being lovable? And everything you say can also be internalized from that perspective. But miscommunication is so easy at that age, and things can really be blown out of proportion. So it is important that we just look at communicating on the most simplest levels, and communicating in ways that opens up that platform, not in an accusatory way or a judgmental way, like why are you doing that now? You never did that before. Say, oh, that's interesting. Is maybe you want to share with me some of your thinking behind it, or is there other things that I can do to help you be more comfortable?
Mm, mm. Okay, and I love what you are sharing, because it comes from the perspective of being curious as a parent, as opposed to drawing conclusions and deciding for yourself. And also that in itself just helping the child get become more open with you, because it's not coming from a place of like you're in big trouble or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, by no means am I saying you need to be your child's best friend, because that dynamic is very risky when it comes to parenting. But you need to be collaborators and partners in this teenage waters, because the waters can become very rough to navigate. But it's also setting the foundation for what that adult child and parent relationship will be later, because then you're going to lead into challenges if you always know what's right, and if you always dominating from your perspective on how you see things, you invalidating their internal experiences. You're not giving them an opportunity to develop their voice and owning their opinion. And then as later, as young adults, still your child, but then it can become too controlling. It can become coercive. It can become very toxic. So it is important to not try and push your childhood days on them, but to sit with curiosity and try to understand how they're perceiving it. They are the ones living it at this point of time. And it's very different from when we were growing up.
It definitely is. It was a lot stricter in our time. One says often in Relebogile, in the olden days, we're afraid to talk anything to our parents. They were very strict. We find ourselves doing the opposites because we didn't even have an idea. These nowadays children are open. They can talk about everything, unlike in the olden days. And I know we are struggling. Many are struggling in society. One message says passive parenting that she is describing doesn't always work. I don't think she was trying to approach it with passive parenting, but she was offering in that particular scenario that was being mentioned for a conversation to be had between parent and child. But it is beautiful that now we live in an era where children can be open and express themselves, because times are bad. Back in the day, a teenager would be raped and the assumption was she was naughty and being busy with boys, whereas a grown man was taking advantage of her. Now a child can come and openly share with you so that something can be done about it. Final thoughts, Yogini?
I think let's stick to the basics. As parents, role is to support and to coach your child. Whether you, regardless of which parenting style you prefer or choose, you need to find ways that are going to help you coach your child, instill good value systems in them, and help them come back to that value system when they're navigating different things in life. But be there to support. Be there to do what our parents couldn't do for us, is talk about feelings. Because when it comes to parenting, if when you feel uncomfortable or when you don't have the answers, if you shut down or if you just go into instructions and expecting obedience, then you're losing the opportunity to build a stronger relationship with your child, but you're also losing the learning opportunity to help your child develop these skills better than we could growing up, which is going to help them navigate the rest of their lives easier as well.
And
So
I
let's
think
just stick to the basics.
that
here.
is the nail on the head there, because at the end of the day, you want for your children to learn to be able to navigate this life without. You're going to have to leave it there. It's just after 2:30. Time for your latest Eyewitness News headlines. Good afternoon.
Thanks, Relebogile. Good afternoon. We begin with news just in. The city of Ekurhuleni has placed its head of legal services, Kemi Behari, and the head of human resources, Linda Xasheka, on full suspension. Both officials have been implicated at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry for allegedly protecting EMPD Chief Julius Mkhwanazi from disciplinary action. It's alleged that Behari and Xasheka attempted to suppress an IPID report which found Mkhwanazi guilty of entering the EMPD into fraudulent contracts with alleged criminal Vusumuzi Matlala. Deputy Minister of Defence Bantu Holomisa has defended the decision to deploy soldiers to help the police in Gauteng and the Western Cape to fight gang violence and illegal mining. He says those who don't agree should come up with solutions rather than criticising that decision. Holomisa has told EWN today that he is confident the move will yield the desired results. And the death toll following a cyclone in Madagascar has now risen to 59. This is the latest in a string of tropical storms to batter the southern African island in recent months. Cyclone Gazani, which made landfall last week, has damaged at least 25,000 homes and flooded more than 200 classrooms. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 3 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, at this hour, if you're driving through the Four Ways area, there's bumper traffic. This is on Winnie Mandela Drive between the N1 and Witkoppen Road. There's also slow-moving traffic heading towards the Joburg CBD in the Melrose area. This is on the N1 southbound approaching Killarney Bends. If you're leaving the Joburg CBD, traffic also a bit sluggish. This is on the M2 westbound between the Crown Interchange and Main Reef Road, while in the city of Tshwane, we've received reports of delays in the Centurion area heading towards Linwood. We received a voice note.
Good day, 702 lenders. I just went past traffic that is building up on the Flying Saucer from R21 into the N1 heading to Polokwane. Thank you.
Thanks for that heads up. Keep them coming. If you have more traffic info to give us, please WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
When your business needs strength, reliability, and serious capability, look no further than the Peugeot Professional Pickup range. Built tough for South African conditions, Peugeot pickups are engineered for fleets, professionals, and the agricultural heroes on who keep this country moving. From rugged load capacity to fuel-efficient performance, these pickups work as hard as you do, whether you're building, delivering, or farming. Peugeot has a model that's ready for the job. Visit your nearest Peugeot dealership today and power your business with the confidence of Peugeot Professional. Landtrek, it's pretty but tough.
On average, you'll spend 83,200 hours working. That's 3,466 days. 20% of that time will be spent in meetings that should have been emails. 10% spent aligning on the misalignment the previous meeting caused. And the rest of the time, waiting for your laptop to update so you can resend that extremely urgent presentation due yesterday because your boss forgot to download it 2 weeks ago. And now, the link has expired. Oh. Life taxes you, so invest tax-free from as little as 250 Rand per month.
Coronation. Trust is earned. Coronation is an authorized FSP.
This is financial year end. This is financial year end, supercharged with the help of Zero Small Business Accounting Software. Try Zero free for 30 days. Terms apply. Search Zero with an X.
Coming up
on 702 Drive with John Perlman.
702 Drive is coming up from 3 to 6 p.m. with John Perlman. John, how are you doing?
Yes, doing very well, thanks. I hope you're well too, and good afternoon to all our listeners.
I am doing well. I am going to ask you the same question I asked the listeners about generational wealth, where we were asking, is the point of it so that your kids never have to work? Because Floyd Mayweather's daughter doesn't work. She just spends dad's money, and people were coming for her on social media, and she was like, well, what was the point of my dad working so hard if it was not to give me a choice not to work? What are your thoughts on that?
So I think generational wealth means different things. Obviously, in the case of someone like Floyd Mayweather, who, in fairness to him, made his money hitting other people, but also getting smacked in the head and the mouth quite a bit. So, I'm not going to certainly in any face-to-face way quibble with him on how much cash he has. I think there's that kind of wealth that actually allows people to not do anything. But there are people who inherit that amount of money, but still do all kinds of things.
Yes.
So there's that. The other is money that you can pass on to the next generation that gives them a real start in life so that they can pay off their bond and then go and start that little restaurant that or turn the one restaurant they have into two and so on. So I generally, if people have made their money and made it honestly, I don't really have a view on what other people do with it. I do think, though, if you decide to take money that you haven't earned and just do it lying around and having fun, I think you miss out on a huge opportunity to have much, much, much more fun.
Yes.
Because you can be fabulously creative. You can bankroll movies. If you love movies, you can help young bands get recording contracts. You can do it. I can't even begin to count how many things. And I think you'd have more fun than, sitting back and doing nothing.
And playing video games.
But not a choice I've ever been faced with. So
hypotheticals for now. What's coming up on your show?
So, good afternoon, everyone, again. So, quite a lot going on around law enforcement at the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department, a process now of vetting senior officers. Too little, too late. I don't know if it's ever too late, but it may well be too little. That we'll hear more about that from our reporter, Alpha Ramushwana. I don't know if you've heard about this, but there's quite a bit in the media about Deputy President Paul Mashatile and his blue light convoy going the wrong way down one-ways and making motorists move out of the way. And, often the conduct of people with blue lights comes up. So we're actually going to find out exactly what do the blue light rules allow you to do. Can you go as fast as you like whenever you like? Can you break any rule whenever you like? Stefanie Fick from Outer is going to join us. She's looked into that carefully.
That's such an important conversation
Yes.
because in my view, the only people that should be allowed to go in the direction of oncoming traffic, that is a life or death emergency situation, which is ambulances.
Yeah.
Not
or police.
Or police.
Yeah.
So for me, I think it must be such an exception and not the norm, because going down oncoming traffic let's listen to what they say. But in my view, it must be a justifiable emergency, not like a meeting or something like that. You can literally take 5 minutes to not go down the one way.
Yeah, so we can go back to the absolute basics. What do the rules say? And then a story that I'm sure will be of great interest to you, Relebogile, with your work in television as well. There's a story that's on my broadband. It was over the weekend in the Rapport about how Canal Plus is sitting on a whole lot of local content contracts that they're not signing. And we want to understand better why.
Yes.
We hope to get the author of the Rapport story and dig into that a little bit more deeply.
Thank you so much. 702 Drive with John Perlman. I'll definitely be tuning in from 3 to 6 p.m.
702.
The Naked Scientist.
Time for The Naked Scientist with Dr. Chris Smith, 011-883-0702. The WhatsApp line, 072-702-1702. Get your science-related questions in for Dr. Chris Smith. Dr. Chris, I feel like it's no guess what you would do if you suddenly amassed, 4, 5, 6 generations of generational wealth. I would imagine you'd be pouring your money into science, or would you just decide to stop working?
I think I'd be too bored to stop working. I'd have to be gainfully and productively employed somehow. But I've thought about this question in the past, thinking if I suddenly had enormous amounts of money, what would I do? And in fact, what I would do is I would create a charitable foundation, and I would have enormous fun then working out what to support and how to support them best to achieve some really good outcomes, not just for science, but for society and a whole range of other endeavours, the arts and so on. I think having that kind of power at your fingertips where you can support people and empower people who've got really good ideas and really good energy, that can be really fulfilling, and I'd have a wonderful time doing that. So if anyone wants to give me, probably a few billion, ought to do it, to create enough of an endowment so we had enough to give away every year to make a meaningful difference but not destroy the foundation in the process, that would be terrific. I'm very happy to receive any donations anyone might have.
I love it for you, except you might only get R1 billion and not the pounds that you're looking for.
Yeah, that's in pounds. That's in pounds, yeah, definitely.
I knew it. Shame, that's going to be very little pounds if it's in rands. 011-883-0702. The WhatsApp line 072-702-1702. Irvin in Ridderpoort. Go ahead, Irvin.
Hi, Relebogile. Thank you for the time. Look, for a quick question, I'm an engineer, but I've always been baffled by this thing of speed and what is speed and acceleration? How are they related? And in the sense of a car traveling in a freeway, can we have two cars that are traveling at the same speed, but one is faster than the other? That's what I want to understand when it comes to those two. I know it's a vector, the other one is just a magnitude. So, yeah.
All right, difference between speed and acceleration and that relationship, Doctor?
Hi, right. Well, speed is an absolute measure of how fast something is moving. So in other words, it's how fast it's going over a period of time. But acceleration is different. Acceleration is a rate of change. So in other words, when you accelerate, you're going from, say, 0 to 100 kilometers an hour, and you're doing that over a period of time. And so it's how much speed you're gaining with the passage of time. So you can travel at constant speed and 0 acceleration. You could also travel at a constant acceleration and you'd be gaining speed. Because if you think about an acceleration of, say, 10 meters per second every second, means that every second that goes by, my speed goes up by 10 meters a second. So at the starting point, I'm not moving. After 1 second, I'm now doing 10 meters per second. After 2 seconds, I'm actually now doing another 10 meters per second. So I'm doing 20 meters per second, and so on. So acceleration is a rate of change, whereas velocity or speed is just a measure of how fast you are moving at any moment in time. And it could be constant. On the other hand, you could be accelerating. But at that moment in time, what is your speed? That's the measure of how fast you're traveling.
Thank you so much, Irvin and Ridderpoort, for that question. Hi, please ask Dr. Chris, if a body's temperature is roughly 37 degrees, I'm going to assume obviously we're talking Celsius, why does a body feel hot in a room with a temperature of roughly 30 degrees? That question comes through from Kyle.
Hi, Kyle. The answer to this is that we are warm-blooded. Our metabolism is continuously producing heat, lots of it from our muscles, but our other organs too. And the body has to therefore give away that heat into the environment at the rate at which it is producing that heat, otherwise we would heat up. So to maintain a steady body temperature, we have to be shedding heat into the environment. The rate at which we lose heat to the environment is dictated by a range of things, but one of them is how hot is the environment. Because if you're trying to push heat from an area of lots of heat to a cold area where there's not much heat, it's very easy because effectively there's a very steep gradient, a temperature difference between where there's lots of heat and where there's less heat, and it's relatively easy for the energy to move from one to the other. But as the temperature of the surroundings goes up, the rate at which your body loses heat goes down. because there's a less steep gradient, a less steep difference between the environment and your body. And as a result of that, you have to take more measures to lose heat faster to keep things in balance. So when we're very, very cold outside and it's freezing cold, we generally have the opposite problem, which is that there's a very steep gradient. There's a great number of ways that energy can be lost from the body to the surroundings. But as we raise the temperature, it becomes much harder because the environment is giving us back energy all the time because it's hotter, rather than just taking it away all the time. And so we have bigger problem losing energy fast enough. And this is why elephants flap their ears. We take our coats off and eventually we start sweating, and then we go red in the face, and then we go into the shade and we take cool drinks. We use various measures to help us to maintain our rate of heat loss, to maintain a steady state temperature.
Thank you so much for that question that came through. I think we've got a voice note on 072 702 1702.
Dr. Chris, good afternoon. This is Titus from Topfontein. I just want to find out, why is it so difficult to run without the hands, arms, swinging and all that? Why is it so difficult? Why can't we just run like normal, fast, with our arms, hands tied down? Titus, Topfontein.
Hello, Titus. Part of it is because when you run, you're using other parts of your body to help you to accelerate. And when you throw your arm forward on the side that you're trying to put your leg forward, you are increasing the momentum forward on that side, and vice versa. So you're using your arms as a way of helping to pull your balance forward, pull your body weight forward, and therefore balance out your stride to make you run more smoothly. If you don't move your arms backwards and forwards in that way, pushing momentum into your arms and therefore helping you to balance, it's much more difficult to run smoothly because your body has evolved to run like that in order to maintain balance and to distribute your weight so that you can run quickly. So I think that's the main reason that it's much harder. And also, neurologically speaking, when your brain facilitates a movement in one direction, it doesn't just turn on the muscles in the direct part of the body that you're moving. You can demonstrate that when you want to move your big toe on your right hand side, you also make your fingers move a little tiny bit, or at least you begin to activate the nerve circuits that would also make the fingers on the same side of the body move a bit too. And it's all the way that the brain is wired up to facilitate movement in a certain direction rather than via discrete groups of muscles. So we swing our arms because it helps us to balance, and we're transferring momentum forward in the direction of travel, and that makes us move faster and more smoothly. But also the way the nervous system is wired up makes it much more natural for us to do that.
Thank you so much for that question that came through. We've got one from Deirdre Byrne in Kensington, who says, I have two leopard trees, that's Lebidibia faria, on my property. One is at the front of the house and gets morning sun. The other is at the back of the house and gets afternoon sun. The one at the back is covered with leaves, while the one at the front is only growing leaves now. Can you explain, doctor?
I don't know what leopard trees are, so I'd have to have a look. But the answer is that I'd need to know a bit more about this. Is it the normal time of the year when these would be coming out, or is the point being made that they're coming into bud slightly ahead of the other? Because there are a number of factors that affect when plants come into leaf and bloom and so on. And one of them is going to be average light and average temperature. And it strikes me that while in the morning one of them may get lots of sunlight first thing, the average temperature is going to be lower for that one because it's just come through a long night and it doesn't really warm up until later on in the day because the sun's had more time to warm the environment. And so the one that's coming out sooner, which is getting the afternoon sun, might well be doing that because the average temperature it is seeing is higher than the temperature that the other one is seeing. And temperature is very important to plants, and that's how they tend to register what time of year it is. So I don't know the answer to this, but that would be my speculation.
Thank you so much, Deirdre, for that question. Mauke in Tembisa says, why when I drink particularly Coke, it makes my teeth actually weak and I can feel that they have shifted sometimes. People must try it, but I just want to know what causes that and the long-term effects thereof. Thank you. I would start by saying you need to go and see the experiments of what that particular brand of drink, and I'm not sure if it applies to other drinks in its category, can do. Doctor?
You're quite right that many of these fizzy drinks are very corrosive. Not just to teeth, but to many things. Paint stripper. They can work as paint stripper. But they're very acidic.
It can clean your toilets as well.
It certainly can. And it's because they contain a lot of phosphoric acid. And the reason it cleans toilets is because toilets get stained by limescale, especially around Johannesburg and Gauteng, because there's lots of dolomitic limestone in the catchment for the rainfall, and so the water tends to be very hard around Joburg, and it therefore makes limescale stains on lots of things. This acid will dissolve the limescale, and which is why your toilet looks shiny. When they go in your mouth, they will also dissolve the surface of your teeth a bit. Because although our teeth are made of a very, very hard substance, apatite, which if you use fluoride toothpaste is fluoroapatite, this is nevertheless still susceptible to acid attack. And so your teeth may well feel strange. After you eat very acidic foods and foodstuffs like this, you may notice the texture and contour of your teeth does feel different. And this is because there are naturally deposits on your teeth, calcium and other bits stuck to the tooth surface. And when you put an acid onto them, this begins to erode and come off. And so you do notice your teeth do feel a bit strange when you run your tongue against them. And this is the effect of these things. I don't think it's in the short term actually going to loosen your teeth, but in the long term it will destroy the enamel of your teeth. And therefore, if you must drink fizzy drinks, and we all do it from time to time, a good plan is to rinse your mouth out with water afterwards. And if you drink sugary drinks, do rinse your mouth out with water afterwards, or just swirl some water around your mouth to wash the excess sugars out of your mouth, and also bring the pH, the acidity, back towards normal. Or chew some chewing gum, which provokes saliva, and saliva is slightly acidic and also very rich in minerals, which will help to remineralize teeth. This is what dentists always say, that acidic foodstuffs do erode the surface of your teeth. So think about how to minimize exposure to them, or how to boost saliva production in the aftermath, because that will help to protect your teeth as best you can.
Thank you so much for that question. Thomas from Tembisa, go ahead.
Yes, hi, afternoon, ma'am. Yes, my question is about measuring the period, actually. Like, for example, to my understanding, a period of 100 years is 1 century.
Okay, so the period of centuries, yes.
Yes. Like in the from 1800 up to 1900, it was a period of 100 years, and it was in the 18th century, and from 1900 to the year 2000 is a period of 100. It was another century, and we were in the 19th century. So where I'm getting confused is now, from the year 2000 up to now, it's only 26 years. But we are saying we are in the 21st century. Why is that? Because to my calculations, we are still left with around 74 years. But we say we are in the 21st century.
Yes. Okay. So I mean, it depends when you count, right? Because once you exceed 20 centuries is 2000. Now you're starting the new century. But doctor, help me out.
Yeah, I mean, it's the point that, say you are going to be 18, until you're 18, you're in your 18th year, but you haven't got there yet. Then you're 18, and you're starting your 19th year. Well, we've decided that the year 0 was 0 AD, the year Christ died, and so every 100 years after that it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, so we're counting up in hundreds of years. And the 20th century was the 1900s, because we haven't quite got to 20 yet, and now we're in the 21st century because we've counted 21 centuries, or we're getting towards 21 centuries by the end of this group of 100 years, but we've had 20 so far, to our way of counting.
And I think you've explained it quite well there, Doctor, but I can understand why people get super confused. Walter from Cape Town asks, if humans only use a fraction of brain capacity, what is the rest of the brain doing, or is this just a myth? Good question.
Well, this is a really good point. And nature does not allow redundancy in that way. Your brain is such a big cost to your body because it accounts for about a fifth of the calories that you're burning, the oxygen you're consuming, the blood that your heart is pumping at any moment in time. It's incredibly metabolically hungry to have such a big brain, and for only a fraction of it to be being used would be so wasteful that nature would have done away with that a long, long time ago. So the answer is you need all of your brain, and you use all of it all of the time. So where does this idea come from? Well, it comes from brain imaging studies, where when we put people in brain scanners and we ask them to do a certain task, we can see certain bits of the brain that correspond to doing that job lighting up transiently. In other words, those bits of the brain become even more active than they were before. That doesn't mean they weren't doing anything before. It means that relative to what they were doing before, they've become even busier. It's like a person having a job and they're doing something every day, but some days are busier than others. It doesn't mean that the job is redundant. It doesn't mean the job is useless, and it doesn't mean they sit around doing nothing all the time, although some people do have a job like that, but not many, thankfully. But it just means that you have a busier than average day some days than others. And it's the same with the brain. You need absolutely all of it, but when you do certain tasks, relatively speaking, that part of the brain becomes that bit more active to do that job. But if you didn't have any part of your brain, just look at somebody who's had an injury to their brain through a stroke or some other trauma, and you can see that they are not without problems. So you need all of your brain all of the time. You just use some bits of it that little bit more to attend to and do certain jobs from time to time.
We're going to have to leave it there. Dr. Chris Smith, thank you so much. We'll keep your questions that we didn't get to.
Kick off to glory with Hollywood Bets and Aziz Shege. Be in the game. Go full speed ahead with the epic competition. You stand to win a share of 4 million rand in cash and prizes, including an all-new Toyota Corolla Cross. Bet 10 rand or more on any soccer fixture or fixtures online or at your nearest branch. Live life in the fast lane. Bet now for your chance to score. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counselling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp HELP to 076 675 0710.
Get your brain in the game, because the brain of 702 is back with your chance to flex your general knowledge smarts. There's 3,000 Rand up for grabs every day, and Brain of the Week wins 10,000 Rand plus a spot in the finals to compete for the grand prize of 30,000 Rand cash. Enter on PrimeMediaPlus.com now, then catch 702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa and 702 Drive with John Perlman for your chance to be the brain of 702. TCs and more on PrimeMediaPlus.com.
Whether it is a CCMA referral, problems with a mechanic, unfair blacklisting, or an uncontested divorce, Clientele Legal offers professional legal services to all South Africans. Our plans are affordable, and you receive up to 745,000 Rand worth of legal services per year. We cover civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Our nationwide legal teams are standing by to support you 24 hours a day. Plus, all plans include a 5,000 Rand bail benefit. Join today. SMS LEGAL to 48721. That's legal to 48721. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Thank you so much for joining us on 702 Afternoons. John Perlman is up next. It's 3 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Bihari and Klashega suspended by the city of Ekurhuleni, and Holomisa defends army deployment decision. Good afternoon. Has placed its head of legal services, Kemi Behari, and the head of human resources, Linda Klashega, on full suspension. Both officials have been implicated at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry for allegedly protecting EMPD Chief Julius Mkhwanazi from disciplinary action. It's alleged that Behari and Klashega attempted to suppress an IPID report which found Mkhwanazi guilty of entering the EMPD into fraudulent contracts with Vusimuziket Matlala. The pair had been on precautionary suspension since late last year, which has now been upgraded to full suspension. Alfara Mushwana reports.
Now that the suspensions of City of Ekurhulene's head of HR, Linda Klashega, and Legal Services head, Kemi Behari, have been moved from precautionary to punitive, they'll no longer be allowed to access the city's offices. Their company-issued devices will also be confiscated pending the conclusion of the city's internal probe. However, even on full suspension, municipal employees continue to receive their full salary and standard benefits. The City of Ekurhuleni says their internal probes and disciplinary hearings will now proceed. Behari and Klashega recently testified at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry about their alleged role in protecting suspended EMPD top cop Julius Mkhwanazi. Alfa Ramshwana, Eyewitness News.
The family of an e-hailing driver who was killed in an attack last week are desperate to have his remains repatriated to his home country, Nigeria. Together with Nwobi attorneys,